There is a metal you can buy at any hardware store right now for under $4 that will stop every bug from entering your home, your cabin, or your off-grid shelter. Permanently. Not for a season. Not until the rain washes it away. Permanently. And there is a second metal, also under $4, that amplifies its killing power and makes the barrier last for decades without replacement. Together, these two metals cost $8. You can build the full perimeter system in an afternoon, and once it is installed, you will never buy a can of spray, a bag of pellets, or a pest control subscription again. So why have you never heard of this? Because in the early 1970s, university agricultural extension programs across the country were quietly publishing field research that confirmed exactly this. Copper and zinc, used together as a physical and ionic barrier, eliminated the most common household and cabin pests, with a success rate that commercial pesticide companies could not match and could not monetize. The research was real. The results were real. And within a few years, those programs lost their funding, the studies disappeared from accessible databases, and the industry shifted entirely toward synthetic chemical solutions that required you to keep buying them every single month. I'm not going to show you a magic trick. I'm going to show you the exact chemistry, the exact materials, and the exact step-by-step build that the pest control industry does not want you to spend one afternoon doing. Let us start with why this actually works, because once you understand the mechanism, you will never look at a copper pipe or a zinc strip the same way again. Copper has a property that scientists call the oligodynamic effect. This is not a theory. It is a documented, measurable, repeatable physical phenomenon where metal ions, in this case copper ions, disrupt the cellular membranes of living organisms at the microscopic level. When an insect, a slug, a roach, or a termite scout contacts copper, those ions interfere with the electrochemical signals the insect uses to move, breathe, and navigate. For soft-bodied insects like slugs and larvae, contact with copper causes an immediate physical reaction similar to a mild electric shock. The copper ion literally creates a tiny electrical current against the moisture on the insect's body. The insect will not cross it. For hard-bodied insects like ants, roaches, and beetles, the copper ions penetrate through tarsal pads, the adhesive pads on their feet, and disrupt the enzyme systems that regulate their nervous function. They do not come back. Zinc works through a different but complementary pathway. Zinc ions are toxic to insect larvae and eggs at concentrations far below what would affect a human or a pet. When zinc oxide forms on the surface of zinc flashing, which happens naturally as it weathers, that white powdery coating is actively lethal to termite scouts, silverfish eggs, and the fungal networks that subterranean insects use to navigate toward your structure. Zinc also serves a structural purpose in this build. It weathers slowly, holds its shape in heat, and creates a rigid frame that keeps the copper mesh correctly positioned against the entry points you are targeting. Together, copper and zinc create a barrier that works on two levels simultaneously. The copper handles mobile adult insects through ion contact, the zinc handles eggs, larvae, and fungal scout trails through chemical toxicity. No insect population can sustain itself against both mechanisms at once. Now let us build it. You need 5 materials. Copper mesh, also sold as copper wool or copper pot scrubber mesh in rolls, available at any hardware store or plumbing supply section. You want the woven mesh style, not the tightly packed steel wool replacement. You are looking for a flexible, woven copper fabric that you can cut and shape. One roll covers approximately 4 standard door thresholds and 6 window sill channels. Second material, zinc flashing. This is sold in the roofing section of every hardware store. It comes in rolls of varying widths. You want the 4-inch wide roll. Third material, tin snips or heavy scissors for cutting both metals. Fourth material, waterproof construction adhesive or exterior grade silicone sealant. Fifth material, a staple gun with stainless steel staples or copper tacks if you can find them. Avoid galvanized steel fasteners as they will cause accelerated corrosion where they contact the copper mesh. Total cost at current hardware store pricing runs between $6 and $9 depending on your region. You do not need protective equipment beyond basic work gloves since freshly cut copper and zinc edges are sharp. The first installation point is your door threshold. This is the primary entry point for ants, roaches, silverfish, and termite scouts. Most pest problems in a cabin or home begin here, not through walls. Cut a length of zinc flashing equal to the full width of your door threshold, plus 2 inches on each side for wrapping around the doorframe corners. Using your tin snips, score a fold line 3/4 of an inch from the front edge of the flashing strip and bend it downward at a 90-degree angle. This creates an L-shaped profile, a horizontal platform that sits on your threshold surface and a vertical face that drops down the front edge of the threshold. Apply a thin bead of waterproof construction adhesive along the underside of the horizontal platform section. Press it firmly onto the threshold surface and allow it to cure for 20 minutes. If you are installing in cold conditions, bring the adhesive inside for 30 minutes before application to restore its viscosity. Now cut a strip of copper mesh to the same width as your threshold. Lay it directly on top of the zinc flashing platform you just installed and fold the excess mesh down over the vertical face of the zinc, wrapping it around the front edge. Use your staple gun or copper tacks to secure the mesh to the wood of the threshold frame at 2-inch intervals. The copper mesh should be fully in contact with the zinc flashing beneath it. This metal-to-metal contact is important. When moisture is present, the contact between copper and zinc creates a galvanic microcurrent at their interface. This current is imperceptible to humans, but is actively repellent to the sensory organs of ants and termite scouts, which navigate partly through electromagnetic field detection. You are not just creating a chemical barrier, you are creating a field barrier. The second installation point is your windowsill channels. Insects, particularly ants and silverfish, enter through the gap between the window frame and the sill, not through the glass. This gap is almost always present, even in well-built structures, due to seasonal wood expansion and contraction. Cut strips of copper mesh to the full length of each windowsill. The width of each strip should be approximately 1.5 inches, enough to press firmly into the sill channel and make contact with both the sill surface and the base of the window frame. Do not use adhesive here. Instead, use the folded edge method. Fold one long edge of the copper mesh strip back on itself by 1/4 inch to create a stiff spine, then press the strip firmly into the sill channel. The tension of the folded edge holds the mesh in place. For windows that see heavy rain exposure, apply a thin bead of exterior silicone sealant over the top edge of the mesh strip where it meets the window frame. Leave the sill facing edge unsealed. You want moisture to be able to escape so the copper can continue oxidizing and remain active. A sealed, moisture-free copper surface loses its oligodynamic potency faster than one exposed to normal humidity cycling. The third installation point is your foundation perimeter, particularly relevant for cabins, sheds, and any structure built close to soil level. Subterranean insects, termites, carpenter ants, ground beetles enter structures at the point where the foundation meets the soil, or through small gaps where utility lines enter. For the foundation perimeter installation, cut zinc flashing into 12-inch sections. Bend each section into a right angle, 6 inches vertical and 6 inches horizontal, creating an L-shaped shield. Press the vertical face against the exterior of your foundation wall and secure it with exterior construction adhesive. The horizontal face extends outward along the soil surface, flat against the ground. Now cut copper mesh into 6-inch wide strips and lay them over the horizontal zinc shelf sections, pressing the mesh down into the soil contact zone at the outer edge. Secure the inner edge of the copper mesh to the zinc flashing with copper tacks. This creates a layered contact barrier. Any subterranean insect tunneling toward your foundation must cross first the copper mesh contact zone at soil level, then the zinc flashing vertical face at the wall, 2 separate ion barriers before reaching your structure. For utility penetrations, water pipes, electrical conduit, cable entry points, pack a dense wad of copper mesh around the pipe or conduit where it enters the wall, filling any air gap completely. Copper mesh is used by professional builders for exactly this purpose and is sold specifically as a rodent and pest exclusion product in this application. The mesh compresses into gaps, does not rust, and maintains its ion-active surface indefinitely.